here over 20 years now, 22, 24 years, something like that. And we like this place because the cottage is quite solitary. And we have the downs, and I walk the dogs every day. But I've always been slightly worried about the flat roof, and I remember some years ago when we had it down, which is probably 15 or 20 years ago, I got somebody who was good at it, and they put on the right sort of thickness of whatever it was. And that's lasted very well, but I knew that sooner or later it was going to start to leak. And then the thatcher was coming in next year, and that's when we started to discuss replacing the flat roof. I got a couple of people out to look at it, and they sort of took about a 10-minute and said, oh, I don't know, you know, 4, 5, 6,000 pounds, who knows. And I just wasn't happy with it. So one of the things I started to look up, frankly, on the web was people who guaranteed the work they did, people I could communicate with, and I didn't really mind if I was paying a little bit more than if I got some local cowboy in to do it, who first of all I couldn't trust, and secondly, you never know where you're going. And that's why I went to Proactive. First of all, you told me that it was possible. Despite the thatch coming down and the problems of it, you could do something. You then send a couple of people out who spend, I reckon, about an hour up there. I mean, you know, but they were very nice. And every question I asked them, they answered it back. And I liked that. So they came out, you offered a quote, we discussed it, and we discussed the problem of the thatch coming down to the roof. And then what you said, and you said free of charge, that once the thatcher came, which would be in a year's time or so, then you would send somebody out to seal it up. And I didn't mind at all, because you were always completely honest, and you always told me the way it was. And then later on, 2 or 3 people came out. They were very pleasant. They interfaced with the dogs and with my wife quite easily. And how can I put it? When you run a company of quite a large number of people, you get to know people and you get to trust them. And I trusted them completely, the people that came out. I did climb up the ladder once with somebody supporting both ends. You know, I'm over 80 now. And somebody said quite gruffly, not in a nasty sense, you shouldn't be coming up a ladder at the age of 80, which I think was quite right, actually. I looked at Proactive and I looked at your advertisement, and I thought, well, the only way to satisfy myself is to invite you to come, which I did. And in fact, most of the things you said in there were true. But that's what really attracted me when I read through it. We said right at the beginning that anybody who came, we would feed them with coffee and things like that. And of course it's quite cold putting those roofs on. So we have a little outbuilding which has got a lavatory. So we just sorted that out. So they had somewhere to sit down and have a cup of coffee. And frankly, get off the roof, because if that east wind blows, you bloody well know you're up there. And they were good. I just know that the people I've met from Proactive, they would do a good job. And it was as simple as that. Money was quite important, obviously, but what I wanted was a good job done. Where I'm over 80, my wife's getting on towards 80, and we shall probably stay here for the rest of our lives. What I wanted was a confident job which I knew wasn't going to leak, and it was as simple as that. If somebody did ask me whether or not I would do business with Proactive, first of all, I would say yes. Secondly, I'd give them the reasons that I'd say yes. That not only is everybody I've met from Proactive civil and honest, but also I know that I think somewhere along the line you have a sort of message in your company about coming out and doing good jobs. And that was sort of fairly obvious to me. So I'd say yes, happily.